Donald Trump's sworn in as the new U.S. president, though amid scenes of violence as thousands protest against his inauguration.
A lot of us just don't agree with the way the system works.
But not when the system works until somebody you dislike gets into office.
Basically, yes.
We hear how Americans feel about Donald Trump moving into the White House, which has highlighted deep divisions across the country.
We are going to retain our position of leadership, because if we don't fight for our values, no one else will.
Yeah, no curtain call for Joe Biden. The former vice president's left in the dark during his speech at the Davos Economic Forum as delegates struggle to adopt the various new challenges. It is midday in Moscow on this Sunday. Your timing is perfect for the weekly. We highlight the top stories of the week and of today. Donald Trump became the 45th president of the United States on Friday. But scenes of chaos and protests around the world greeted his inauguration, including violent clashes between demonstrators and police in the U.S. Capitol. Well, demonstrations continued against Donald Trump on his first full day in office. Thousands took part in the Women's March in hundreds of cities. They protested under the banner, "Women's rights are human rights." And Guy Chakan was following the event.
Many people here don't just dislike Trump. They believe he has no place in the White House. Many of them apparently voted for Hillary Clinton. I see lots of signs that read, "Not my president," illegitimate. What if somebody you liked won? Would you complain about the method of the election? Would you
Really, quite honestly, no. But that's just the way it works, you know. But we have a system. Our system works. A lot of us just don't agree with the way the system works.
But not when the system works until somebody you dislike gets into office. Is that right?
Basically, yes.
I don't think that Clinton would have lost the election if the Russians and Comey hadn't intervened. The majority,
the FBI director.
Yes, the majority who voted for Trump, basically like 75, 80,000 people, fewer people that could fit into a football stadium. So
have you seen evidence of the Russian interference?
No, but there are multiple investigations going.
When you believe and when you say Russia intervened in the election, what is it based on?
It's based on a lot of people who are an awful lot smarter than me, who have done a lot of research in the intelligence community, and the CIA and the FBI both backed up those claims. So they haven't necessarily said that they're true, but they have not denied them.
Not my president. Whose president is he?
Not America's president, not democracy's president. I don't know whose president he is. He's the president of his own ego.
What about the millions of Americans who voted for him?
You mean the millions that were hacked by a foreign country? The millions of Americans that voted for him, I hope that they, I don't know. My heart goes out to them, and I hope that they see the mistake that they made.
Over 90% of Washington, D.C. voted for Hillary Clinton, so the size of the protest is hardly surprising. What does seem unprecedented is this kind of opposition to a president before he had a chance to do anything in office. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chakyan, RT.
We spoke to several experts about some of the issues fueling the protests in America.
I think the left wing, the big government people are sort of hysterical because they were absolutely convinced they were going to win the election, and it didn't happen that way. And they're sore losers, so they're striking out. And I'm very unhappy with the situation in this country, but I have a different view on how we should deal with this. I think elections are good. I think nonviolence is good. Resentment against government is okay as long as you don't initiate violence, and there's some of that going on. on.
I'm not surprised because the radical Democrats have been fostering all sorts of riots and violence in the streets. This idea of creating violence and turmoil. They are desperate to stop Donald Trump from doing what he's doing.
Well, despite mass demonstrations and violence from protesters, hundreds of thousands of people still attended the inauguration, celebrating Trump's victory, though many Americans are split regarding the new leader.
Do you respect the choice of the people who got him elected?
Do I respect the choice of the people who got him elected?
Because it seems like when you're saying, yeah, do you?
No, I don't.
If it was a democracy, he wouldn't be president.
So you don't think he was democratically elected?
No. Most of the people voted against him.
The Electoral College, you know, gives more power to some states, and so he won according to the U.S. Constitution, right?
That's true.
What if it was the other way around?
Yes.
What if Trump lost and Trump voters took to the streets and started smashing windows and saying Clinton is illegitimate? Would you?
No, that would be their right. They'd be wrong, but it would be their right.
Well, RT correspondent Kelly Mopan now with more on how the election has exposed deep divisions across America.
He was the horse the American political establishment refused to back.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud.
The media turned their nose up at him.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket.
Next, I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Celebrities tried to stop him.
He's a con, a artist, a mutt.
They all failed, but yet they still haven't given up.
It is not right at this time to normalize this presidency.
All of this exposes one huge issue. The USA is deeply divided. There's almost two Americas. Take a look at a map. You have the Clinton archipelago of Southern California and New York City, where, incidentally, most of the media is based. Wall Street, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, this is where Clinton had most of her support. And it should be no surprise that it's where Trump and his supporters are especially unwelcome, as I found out myself. Why do you think this area in particular is such a stronghold of Clinton supporters?
A lot of educated people that are sensible and know how the world runs.
Hyper-educated people with huge amounts of money.
I would say we're more open-minded. We're kind of more moderate.
Well-educated people.
He's smarter than the rest.
Most of them are educated, but how many of them have jobs?
The rest of America, well, you can call it Trump land. The people infamously branded as the basket of deplorables. While they may be proud to bear the name, they aren't exactly happy about the way the media and Clinton supporters have characterized them.
Well, they were kind of arrogant, weren't they?
Yeah.
I'm not to judge what other people's education and stuff is, you know?
How many of them are not working at McDonald's or somewhere, even though they have a 5-year, 6-year degree?
It's not surprising. The country's divided in half.
And the gap is widening because instead of an attempt at civilized dialogue, both sides consort to verbal abuses.
This is our country! Our country! USA!
The divisiveness is a direct result of the advertising and marketing used by the two world parties. There's no question about that. But I don't know that Trump individually has really contributed any more to that divisiveness than, you know, Hillary Clinton did, or the Republican Party as a whole did, or the Democratic Party as a whole did. I think it's just divisiveness politics that's pitting people against each other.
It's really a matter of reality having to bite. They have to come to terms with the fact that the man next door, the woman on the bus, the family across the road could well be Trump supporters. And so this idea that there are two Americas has really got to stop. It could lead to something very bad. The civil strife could spiral out of control.
Trump says he wants to make America great again. But to do that, he'll have to tackle America's hate within. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
That clear dislike towards Donald Trump has grown amid much of the mainstream media's critical coverage of him. BuzzFeed, which was rebuked a couple of weeks ago for releasing a dossier of lewd accusations against Trump, has now set up a 4-year timer right there, counting down to the next inauguration day. Before Trump was even sworn in, CNN was reporting on what might happen if a disaster were to strike the inauguration.
What if an incoming president and his immediate successors were wiped out on day one?
Who would be in charge if an attack hit the incoming president? It won't be a Trump cabinet secretary. It will be an Obama appointee.
It is patently irresponsible. Dare I say it is criminal. Do you have any idea of how many nutcases we have walking around here? People who have absolutely nothing to live for. People who have been riled into this sense of absolute froth over this president-elect who has been called by some illegitimate, and you have this show where you're basically providing a prescription. You're basically tacitly saying, you know, this is what would happen if, God forbid, somebody were to off the president and the vice president. Why, if it would happen, it would be pretty much just the way it was before. Do you know how little it takes to get some attention-starved lone wolf, some demented, psychopathic, homicidal lunatic to empower and to propel them into maybe taking one for the team? This is just inconceivable.
President Donald Trump also took aim at the mainstream media. He was speaking at the CIA's headquarters on his first stop as the newly inaugurated Commander-in-Chief. This was on Saturday.
As you know, I have a running war with the media. They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth. Right? And they sort of made it sound like I had a feud with the intelligence community. And I just want to let you know, the reason you're number one stop, it is exactly the opposite. Exactly. And they understand that, too.
However, former CIA Director John Brennan blasted Trump's speech in a statement released by his ex-deputy chief of staff. He said, and I quote, "Trump should be ashamed of himself for his remarks in front of the CIA's memorial wall of agency heroes." Well, critics thought Trump's controversial style during the election would have sent voters running in the other direction, though it clearly seems now the opposite